Don't you want it? 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 You lose your little mind. My Deadlights.
Welcome to the Deadlights pod, Mini. I'm your host, Sam Johnston.
I am Mini Leslie.
Mini Leslie.
Bringing you your Minisode.
Minisode. Hell yeah. Well, these minisodes are kind of fun because we just talk about whatever we want to talk about for this week. Whatever. Sorry, you're subjected to this.
Yeah, thank you.
I thought that something fun to do would be just talking about why we named it the Deadlights in the first place.
That's a good one. I've been, people that we've been talking about, but like people that I've been talking to, kind of spreading word of this podcast. They're like, but yeah, what's the Deadlights?
Right. I mean, it's kind of it's a spooky name, you know. First of all, it's mysterious. Like, what are the
Deadlights?
What are the Deadlights? Ooh. It's mysterious. Yeah. But something I think that you obviously know is I am a huge Stephen King fan.
Absolutely.
I
mean,
there's a whole...
It over there, if you can see it.
All of it.
Lot.
There's a lot. There's a lot of Stephen King.
I did wanted to ask, have you read all these books?
I haven't read all of them. I've read a lot of them, though. Like, I read The Stand, Nightmares and Dreamscapes, not the Misery, Shining, 11/22, Joyland, not the Dark...
Oh, I didn't even realize there was more over here.
More over here. Different Seasons, Salem's Lot, Gerald's Game...
I didn't know he made little minis.
Yep. He made a lot.
Yeah.
He made a shit ton.
The Green Mile was one of my dad's favorite.
Yeah, it's a great
movies.
movie. And he released it as little... they were released weekly in magazines.
This guy is smart.
Yeah, he's insane.
My God.
He's a... If you open up his Wikipedia and you actually look at the list of not only novels, but short story books and... articles and movies too. Like, he is non-stop writing.
Yeah, we need a masterclass.
We need a masterclass.
We need a masterclass. I would buy that.
He's just like a person that is so, I think, so committed to his form and his world that he can just like easily slip into it.
Shit.
Yeah, and just kind of bring us into it too. When I'm reading Stephen King, I a lot of times feel like the way that he writes is almost like someone getting you around a fire and like, let me tell you a story. Like, it feels very much like he is like a grandfather, like telling people like these scary stories. It feels very like he feels very close to you as the reader.
Yeah, and that is a very great attribute to have as a writer, because then you can make your stories more universal, and they're not so, one track, and only certain people are gonna be interested in what I'm writing because it is too heady or,
Yeah. It seems very
too simple.
A lot of his stories have a lot of depth and a lot of layers to them, but it's also, like you said, it's accessible to a lot of people because what it comes down to is a lot of just people's common fears. Which that's his genre,
that motherfucker's my fear. And it's like not even that I'm afraid of clowns. That's not even it. It's just him being able to like be everywhere. Oh my God. Yeah.
Well, and that kind of ties back to the Deadlights because that is a big part of it, the story. The book is for sure one of my favorite Stephen King books and just books in general.
I should read.
It's a thick one. I mean, it's big.
It's a bad boy.
It's a big boy, and it's about a lot of different things. Growing up and letting go of childhood.
That in itself is scary. Growing up.
And it's about this town too, and it's about hate. About systemic hate. There's a lot going on in this book that are scary things and are real things too. But it's also about a monster, obviously, that is using fear against this town, and specifically against children. The monster in it, Pennywise the Clown,
Yes.
he is the personification of the Deadlights. The Deadlights are almost like a force that is from a different world. It's from like a very dark world.
Like the underground, or
they call it
demons?
they call it, like, they say it comes from the darkness. It comes from a place that was before our universe, before man or planets, or it was one of the original forces essentially in the universe, and it's a it's like pure evil. It's everything that is purely evil in the world comes from the Deadlights. And if you stare into the Deadlights, you go crazy, or you eventually die because the human mind can't handle the pure evil that it sees. And so Pennywise is a personification of the Deadlights. It's what we as humans, it's the only thing that we as humans can interpret in our minds to make this ultimate evil, our ultimate fear, essentially, into a form. Because we can't even our human minds can't even understand what that true evil looks like. It's so beyond, it's scary. It's that scary. And in the books, there's a couple of characters that look into the Deadlights and are completely affected. Either they die, or they go into a coma, or they go crazy when they look into these Deadlights. And something, it's something that goes across multiple things in his books. And it's kind of like this thing of like an ultimate evil and original evil that he can easily go back to explain things, almost like,
right.
This is a
and not
a
have
source.
it be religious, you know,
Yes.
because there is some sort of form of, if you say that something's demonic, then there must be another force that's, you know, angels or saints, you know. There has to be a yin and yang. So,
And he
like, for
does
it
have
to
that
be
too.
darkness, there's light.
Yes.
And, but these creatures also are called Deadlights. So
Yeah.
it's like, they're darkness, but they have the light trying to lure you in.
It's a hyperbole, because it doesn't make sense. It's like if something's dead, it like you said, it's complete darkness, but this is a source of a light.
Yeah.
So this is shining on you. This thing that doesn't even make sense of what it is shining on you, and our brains can't make sense of it either. When you look into it, it just completely stuns you from the horribleness that you're seeing.
Which is absolutely what lights do. If you look into a light, you will then just be able to just see that.
Mm-hmm.
As a kid, if I was in this world, I think I would have died. I don't know how a little kid could stare into these horribleness and just be in a coma. Not like wake up.
Mm-hmm.
Because you just saw the worst of the worst.
Yeah.
Like beyond that too.
Beyond comprehension of the worst. Yeah, it's scary.
Ooh.
It's a scary thing. And going back to what you were talking about with, that is the ultimate evil in Stephen King's world, and the ultimate good in Stephen King's world is sometimes personified as a turtle. There's this idea of, which kind of comes from the Hindu religion, of like the mother turtle. And the turtle is pure creation. And it's something, while the Deadlights are pure destruction, the turtle is pure creation. And they're that yin and that yang. And there's also this idea that Stephen King himself is the turtle, because he is the creator. He is creating these stories, and he is purely creating, despite the pure destruction of the monsters that he's creating and writing about. And so he's almost the yin to the darkness that he's creating in his stories, like the yang and the yin. It's interesting.
Well, like that. Yeah, that is interesting, because then my mind went into just like, we ourselves are also living and dying at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
We will always be as young and as old as we will be in this moment.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like this very interesting, like, well, we're all kind of creating and destroying at the same time. In order for us to grow, we need to, like, kill some of ourselves, thousands and thousands, and then we're creating just this, you know?
Yeah. And the things that...
And then creating life, too. Like, how crazy of an idea is that? To create life. I don't know. Anyways.
Well, it's also, I mean, thinking about in our reality, what are the deadlights that we can look into, but except books or movies that we are watching, and we're trying to understand things that maybe we've never even thought about before, or things that we don't want to comprehend. I mean, specifically, we're talking about horror books and horror movies and
podcasts too. I listen to a lot of true crime, so like my ears and brain are always in this world of just like destruction.
Well, it's like weird. Why would you ever open a book or turn on a movie that you know is going to be horrifying? Because we have this curious mind to look into the deadlights sometimes.
Yeah,
like you are
to prepare ourselves. You know?
Yeah, you know it's going to be awful, but still, we open the book, we turn on the movie, and we look into those deadlights.
We're looking at these characters being like, I hope you survive, knowing that a lot of them won't.
Yeah.
Especially with these older ones. It's like, there's always just the one or two that survive.
Yep, exactly. And now you and I's task is to look into all these deadlights. And
when you came up to me and were like, yeah, you know, we're creating this podcast. What do you want to name it? And I'm like, you know, I don't know. And I was like, I was thinking that we were going to have like a sit down moment, come up with a list. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. He's like, well, yeah, I'm thinking about Deadlights. And I was like, oh, what's Deadlights? And then it was just a fascinating, absolutely. It makes sense for us to call it the Deadlights because, like you mentioned, we're looking into the light of the TV and watching these horrible things.
Yeah.
That hopefully we'll never see in reality.
Right. This is like a very light deadlight that we're looking into, which hopefully you and I, you know, obviously you and I have a curious minds to subject ourselves to these things.
Yeah.
And hopefully we won't go crazy.
I hope
over
not.
The course.
What if we drive one of our guests crazy?
I think we did our job then. The Deadlights.
No. So we're the Deadlights.
A little bit, I think. We're at least like, maybe we're like Pennywise, you know, who is like a personification of the Deadlights and shows you the Deadlights.
I created what I'm afraid of.
You become what you're afraid of.
I never would have thought I would be in this predicament.
Yeah. You look into the darkness long enough, you become the darkness. Nietzsche for you.
Speaking of, is that movie in our bucket?
It is. It is. And that's going to be an interesting one because that is going to be a double feature. Because it's going to have to go over... I was
really hoping it would be.
It's going to have to go over 2 weeks once you get it because it's 2 movies. So...
That's amazing.
There we go.
Yes, I think I've mentioned it before in one of the episodes, but if I haven't seen this movie since I was like 5, 4. I can't even remember. In the span of 4 and 6.
Wow.
And it fucking terrified
Sticks with
me.
you. Sticks with you.
Yeah.
And
oh, yeah.
A evil clown running around, no matter what, for a kid, I think is just deep down something scary.
But also his interpretation of Pennywise, I think, was just spot on. He has just a very characteristic face already, and he just did really well trying to utilize all the muscles and stuff.
He's he would be probably a really good clown, like a funny actual clown, but he then just takes all that and turns it into this coming from a very scary evil place.
Yeah.
And you're right, he's just like such an animated person already that...
And I find his cackle to be more effective, scary-wise, as opposed to the new one. I think he, in general, did a good job with the direction that they gave him, but the cackling is more of a clown in a non-scary way.
Yes. Exactly.
I'm like, what is this? It's like witchy territory that's not scary.
And the difference between the new It and the old It, movie-wise, is you're right. They made that clown visually scary too. They tried to make him look creepy, whereas in the original, he just looks like a clown. Like, and he is just scary from within. You know, he's like, his attitude and how he delivers the lines is scary.
Coming up from a fucking drain.
Hey, Georgie.
Oh, no, my name is Leslie.
I'm Leslie. I'm not Georgie.
You're the wrong house.
We'll get to it.
I'm excited.
Yes.
Even though I'm excited because I am terrified. Like, my hands are clammy right now because I'm anticipating and ready to, like, absolutely turn away and get back to my childhood and protect her. Just, like, kind of, like, carry her.
Well,
or not be scared at all.
Or not be scared at all. You don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
But now that we've talked about it so much, probably next week we're going to pull it out of the bucket.
Ooh, we're going to manifest it.
Calling it.
Yeah?
Calling it.
Calling it?
We'll see.
Okay. All right.
All right, well, that was a little fun one.
That was a little
the
fun
Deadlights.
one. That's great.
That's it.
Leslie, you can find me on Instagram. Color me Leslie.
And you can find me at BeepBeepRichieT and also the Deadlights Pod, which is our podcast on Instagram.
Freaking cool.
That's our handle. And also check out Playground Social, which is the studio that we are recording this at.
This table itself is Playground Social.
This table. This is the Playground Social table.
One. Right here.
But until next time, let's get Mini Scoopy. Let's get Mini Spooky.
Little Mini Scoopy. The Deadlights.
Look into the
Follow
Deadlights.
our Deadlights Instagram.